How do you go from being someone's mentor, literally raising them like your own son, to having them publicly destroy your entire legacy? That's exactly what happened between Wilt Chamberlain and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We're talking about a friendship so close that when Kareem was a teenager, Wilt would let him borrow his $30,000 Bentley, which would be worth over $300,000 in today's money. But then everything changed. What started as a beautiful mentorship in sports became a decades-long war. So bitter that they couldn't even be in the same room together. To understand how things fell apart and what happened, let's start at the beginning. Picture this, it's 1959, and there's this skinny 12-year-old kid watching Wilt Chamberlain tear up the NBA in his rookie season. That kid is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, except back then he was called Lou Alcindor. Wilt was already showing he was something special, averaging 37 points and 27 rebounds per game. Fast forward 2 years to 1961, and this same kid is now almost 7 feet tall himself, standing courtside at Rucker Park in Harlem. He's watching Wilt absolutely dominate in front of this electric New York crowd, and this teenager is completely starstruck. After the game, Kareem is too nervous to even approach his idol, but his friend isn't having it and literally drags him over to meet Wilt. When young Kareem introduces himself, Wilt already knows who he is. "Oh yeah, I heard of you. You're the young boy that plays for the Catholic school, supposed to be getting good." He looks at this skinny teenager and says, "You got good legs. I wish I had legs like that." Now here's where the story takes the most unexpected turn. You'd think they bonded over basketball, right? Wrong! These two became close because of jazz music. See, in 1961, Wilt bought a nightclub in Harlem called Small's Paradise. And I'm talking about the hottest jazz joint in the city. Musicians, NBA stars, comedians, everyone who was anyone hung out there. And Kareem, his dad was a jazz musician, so this kid absolutely loved the scene. Before you know it, this underage teenager becomes a regular at Wilt's club. We're talking about Kareem chilling in Wilt's apartment near Central Park, cruising around Manhattan in his custom $30,000 Bentley, which, by the way, cost 6 times what Kareem's father made in an entire year. Kareem was mesmerized by Wilt's lifestyle, especially all the gorgeous women constantly around him. Kareem admits he tried copying Wilt's smooth style, trying to be sophisticated, but he was just this shy, awkward kid. There was even this woman named Crystal, who Kareem fell head over heels for, but he never made a move because that's Wilt's girl. Or at least one of them. Wilt literally took Kareem under his wing. He'd bring him to parties, horse racing, or they'd just drive around the city. This wasn't some casual mentorship. This was straight up father-son vibes. Kareem's mom even had to tell him to stop going to Wilt's place so much because she felt like he was being a burden. Fast forward to 1965, Kareem heads to UCLA on a scholarship, and naturally they don't see each other as much. But something's changing. Kareem's growing up and starting to see his hero differently. There's this one moment that absolutely disgusted Kareem. They're in an elevator when some random guy gets on and makes a joke. "How's the weather up there?" Instead of just ignoring it, Wilt spits on the guy and says it's raining. Kareem's standing there awkwardly, thinking to himself, this isn't the mentor I looked up to. 1969 hits and everything changes forever. Kareem enters the NBA with the Milwaukee Bucks, and now they're not mentor and student anymore, they're direct competitors. Their first real matchup is electric. Wilt drops 25 points and 25 rebounds. Kareem fires back with 23 and 20. Not bad for a rookie, but Wilt's still showing who's the king. But then the playoffs happen, and things get spicy. Kareem is struggling against Wilt's insane physicality. This man is getting his legendary skyhook, the most unstoppable shot in basketball history, blocked. Wilt blocks it twice in one game. But here's the thing about Kareem. He learns fast. Next time they play, he changes his whole approach, starts facing the basket more, and suddenly Wilt's got real problems. The student is becoming the teacher, and everyone can feel the power shifting. By 1971, the Bucks win the championship with Kareem as league MVP. The torch is officially being passed, and Wilt can see it happening. Now buckle up, because this is where the tension really starts to build. In 1973, Wilt publishes his autobiography. Most of it's typical athlete memoir stuff, games, records, whatever. But then Kareem reads something that destroys their relationship forever. In a completely different chapter, not even about basketball, Wilt writes that he finds black women to be less sophisticated socially and sexually than white women. Let that sink in for a hot minute. This is the man who took Kareem under his wing, who Kareem looked up to like a father, making racist generalizations about black women. For Kareem, who's out here fighting for civil rights, protesting racism, putting his entire career on the line for social justice, this isn't just offensive. This is the ultimate betrayal. So of course he feels some kind of way. Kareem later said this made Wilt a traitor in his eyes, not just to him personally, but to their entire race. This is the exact moment their friendship dies. Not over basketball stats, not over money, not over championships, but over that statement. For Kareem, everything Wilt stood for was now tainted. The man who raised him, who he trusted, who he looked up to, had just revealed himself to be everything Kareem was fighting against. But wait, it gets so much worse. As Kareem's career explodes in the 70s and 80s, and he starts breaking all of Wilt's records, the jealousy becomes obvious. Wilt starts feeling like Kareem used him. Like this kid played the long game, got what he needed from the relationship, then threw him away once he became successful. When Kareem starts getting all this media love and recognition, Wilt is bitter because he never got that level of respect during his playing days. So Wilt starts going off. He's telling every reporter who'll listen that Kareem doesn't score enough, doesn't rebound enough, plays terrible defense. He's basically trying to diminish everything Kareem accomplishes. Then 1984 happens. Kareem breaks Wilt's all-time scoring record. This should be a beautiful passing of the torch moment, right? Wrong. Wilt shows up to the ceremony at the Forum wearing a black tank top, looking like he'd rather be getting a root canal. He gives this half-hearted 30-second speech, and the look on his face is saying he'd rather be literally anywhere else. The next day he tells the LA Times, "It's really quite strange. If I had received half the fanfare that Kareem's getting at this time, I wouldn't know what to do with myself." Then he gets really petty, saying it's only one of about 90 records he held, so what's the big deal? By 1988, he's going full savage mode, telling reporters that Kareem should have retired 5 years ago and only played against weak competition because there were only a couple good centers in the league. For years, Kareem stays quiet. Maybe he thinks his 6 championships and 6 MVPs speak for themselves. But by 1990, he's had enough. He publishes his autobiography, and there's an entire chapter that's basically a public execution of Wilt Chamberlain. But here's the absolutely savage part. He addresses it as an open letter to Wilt Chamberlain. The letter is absolutely brutal. Kareem writes about how Wilt quit college early when things got tough, how he always blamed teammates and officials when he lost, how he was a quitter his whole career. But then he delivers the knockout punch that ended Wilt's whole legacy. "People will remember that I worked with my teammates and helped us win. You will be remembered as a whining crybaby and a quitter, stats and all." That's Kareem basically saying, I don't care about your 100-point game, your 50-point average, or any of your records. You're still a loser. Wilt tries to clap back in his next autobiography in 1991, but the damage is done. He calls Kareem's farewell tour a contrived fiasco and says he should donate all those luxury gifts to charity instead of keeping them. But it just sounds petty and jealous at this point. Here's the crazy part though. They eventually made up. In the late 90s, they did a commercial together.
With enough room for anybody.
Even if you're 7'1" or taller. Taller. Little.
And Kareem says they put their differences aside on set. He claimed he never really hated Wilt. He just hated his views on certain things and that racist comment. When Wilt died in 1999, Kareem had nothing but praise for the Big Dipper. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more videos about why certain NBA players hated each other, click this video to see why the beef between Kobe and Shaq started.